Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, we'll be talking about that potentially powerful storm system that will be occurring across the northern plains of the United States and into the southern Canadian prairies. Definitely a one that could bring severe weather with it, and which is the unfortunate part, but there is good news with this system. It has a lot of rain potential, and it doesn't look like it will be a flooding potential, more of a rain that could bring relief to many drought-stricken areas across North Dakota, South Dakota, especially into Wyoming, Montana. Decent rain amounts, potentially 1 to even 3 inches of rain, but I do think that the rain will outweigh the severe weather because it doesn't look too dynamic. The severe weather outbreaks, they don't look as if they will be too widespread. Obviously there is some risks and concern, but it really, I think, is going to be more of a good thing than a bad thing. Hopefully I'm not mistaken by that, but based on what's looking right now, it's looking pretty good. All right, before we get into this, if you guys would like to subscribe to this channel, obviously don't subscribe just because I told you to. Check out the channel, watch the videos. If you do enjoy it, consider doing that. Hitting the thumbs up button also helps out a lot if you enjoy it. And if you have any comments or concerns or whatever, leave them down below and I get to as many as I can, usually a majority of them. So I do have also one quick thing to say before we get into this. This applies to anyone that is my channel member. It's basically how you join through YouTube and you drop a few extra bucks to support the channel. The thing is, that's obviously, thank you so much for doing that in the first place, but it would be better. Patreon would be a better option for my channel members, because YouTube takes a good chunk, almost I think 40% of that to itself, and Patreon takes just a few percent, I think 4 or 5. So that would be a better way to support the channel on Patreon rather than channel memberships. If you can't switch that, perfectly fine. Thank you so much for supporting, and obviously anyone that is not supporting the channel on Patreon, feel free to do that. But without further ado, I'm sorry if I annoyed you from talking so long. Let's start talking about the weather. European model. Let's start off with this model. It's been the most consistent. I think it has the most accuracy, and it's been showing this system for the longest time. So notice we do have Tropical Storm Fred. I didn't check its update. I'm assuming it's last time I checked was yesterday in the evening, and it was supposed to be around 50 to 50 miles per hour. Might have slightly strengthened, and that's again, that 50 mile per hour was supposed to be at landfall. But regardless, you could see that it's going to be moving in quite a bit of rain. Definitely not the worst news with that rain. You know, it's not soggy there, so they do need a bit of that. But obviously, you know, the winds and whatnot could be a bit of a hassle. Definitely not a storm that should be causing too great concern. Just you know, prepare and you really should be fine. You know, but it's definitely something we have to keep an eye on for, as it could intensify a bit more quicker than you know, expected and whatnot. So yeah, a lot of rain. You could see that's not the storm I'm talking about, but it definitely does play a role in bringing up a lot of moisture for this low pressure and its piece of energy that is going to be bringing rain across Montana. Look at that, into Tuesday and Wednesday, snow into the British Columbia and Alberta border mountains. Yeah, it definitely is that time of the year where that starts happening. And notice, look at that, we do start seeing little bouts of precipitation that is beneficial for the wildfires and areas that need it. And notice that it does kind of start elongating into southern Canada. It may start looking like it's a bust, but I reassure you that, again, the European has been showing this consistently, and it still develops a system. The one trend that has been going on for the models, all three of them, is delaying this system. They're at the beginning, they showed this system already pretty much well organized by Wednesday. At this point, it's still not even organized by Thursday, so it's definitely going to be a bit of a delay. But notice that there still will be some rain already occurring then into the North Dakota, into South Dakota, right, into Wyoming, into Colorado, and then by Thursday into Friday, so about a 24-hour delay compared to a few days ago. It shows widespread light to potentially moderate and heavy rain, obviously, with those thunderstorms occurring across Dakota, both Dakotas, and into potentially Nebraska, Wyoming, into Minnesota. And then as this system, what makes this system so unusual and so unique is the fact that, look at this, as it pushes out, it develops a very classic comma-shaped precip head, a cold front, a warm front, and wedged right in between these two fronts is the warmest of the warmest air. Behind it is cooler air, so that's nice. You know, folks up here will be getting some relief. Now, as we push this forward, this low pressure does weaken, but it continues to drop quite a bit of rain into the UP, into Wisconsin, into Illinois with that cold front. Definitely some severe weather potential with that, though it doesn't look too ridiculous. But again, more of a rain potential, which is what many folks need. And notice that it does bring some rain into southern Canada as well, but it kind of stretches out into this almost vertical line, which is rather unusual, and it does kind of meander off the coast. After that, if you're wondering, this is at this point Saturday, Sunday. It will be done with the plains, but it will be moving to the Great Lakes, into Sunday, into the Northeast, and by the time Monday comes, it's gone. But we do see a second system, not as well organized, but definitely bringing more rain to the Dakotas, Nebraska, maybe North Dakota, again, southern Canada, more beneficial rain. Doesn't look like the severe weather will be too high. Then with this one, it might be a bit higher. The severe weather, definitely, it looks as if this could be a bit more powerful, but that is very, very far out, and it does show more rain, which really is a good thing for a lot of these folks here. Unfortunately, the severe weather isn't, but, you got to pay a cost, unfortunately, for everything with the weather, it seems. But notice that across the Southwest, there are some rains from the monsoon. This is mainly from that storm across the Rockies before it enters the plains. Notice Utah, Colorado, generous amounts of rain into northeastern Wyoming. They've been in a very, very bad drought. You could get up to 2 inches of rain. Western Montana, 1 to 2, even 3 inches. Not so much across eastern Montana, but again, that could be changed. The storm system may drop a bit more, but again, it's not favored to drop too much rain. Notice across the Dakotas, it brings a lot and widespread amounts of 3, 4, 1, 2. Shouldn't be a flooding event. Maybe across southern Canada could get a bit too heavy across extreme northwestern Ontario, bordering into Manitoba. But a lot of this rain will be beneficial, including the British Columbia, southern Canada area. A bit of it could go into the northwest. That wouldn't hurt at all. And notice that southeastern Canada kind of does miss out on that a bit. But notice towards the south, the east of the United States, 3, 4, 5, 2, 1. Just generous amounts from the tropics and from that cold front that will be swiping through from the storm system. So this is the European model. Let's take a glance at now the other models. This is just one of many, or one of many. The three that I show you are probably the biggest ones in the weather community. Notice what the GFS shows. It shows Tropical Storm Fred developing into a rather tight little low pressure. The thing is with smaller storms, and the thing that we have to watch out for is that they can intensify much quicker than a large beast of a system, right? That's obviously, large storm is more dangerous, but it's harder to intensify. A little guy like this one, it isn't a massive hurricane. It isn't really the smallest one either, but it's rather on the smaller side, and the intensification on these systems, when they're small, could occur rather quickly. So, maybe a borderline hurricane is still possible, but again, I think it's growing more unlikely based on what I read. But notice across the southeast and into portions of the northeast, we do see that rain from that system. But look, across British Columbia, the northwest, we see that piece of energy mixed with that tropical moisture from the monsoons and from Tropical Storm Fred. And look, we start seeing rain across the mid-south, the mid-country. But that is kind of separate from this low pressure, but it does get absorbed by it. And notice that the GFS keeps it less organized, right? The system, not a closed area of circulation like the European, but notice it still shows lots and lots of rain. So either way you put this, it's gonna be probably beneficial and good for North Dakota and South Dakota and Minnesota potentially. And notice it by Friday, Saturday, this is what it looks like. This is early Saturday, and on Saturday more across Missouri, Illinois, and then now this is into Sunday, another wave. You could see that cold front isn't as strong as what the European shows across the Great Lakes and Northeast, right? But the following system, according to the GFS, is stronger, and it brings a lot of rain again to Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota. That could definitely be some severe weather, and that is definitely a concern right there. That is very fiery yellows, right? We notice that with this first one, there's not as much. There will be some severe weather, hopefully not too much. But look at that one. That one definitely could cause some wind damage, unfortunately. But at least it would be bringing rain to a lot of locations that need it. Hopefully, the winds aren't strong enough to obviously kind of outweigh the benefits of that rainfall. And notice as we push us forward into Tuesday, at this point, this is next week, and notice there's some rain across Illinois, Indiana, so it does seem to affect a good portion of the country. Everyone seems to get their share. Look, southeastern Canada, the large cities right there, decent rains potentially out of that cold front. After that, we do get a bit quieter weather. It's a bit cooler, but notice that little small activities still continue, and eventually the GFS does develop yet another storm further to the north that drags a cold front across southeastern Canada and the northern U.S. And then look, Colorado, Utah, a lot of precip across the southwest continues feeding these storm systems. And notice that the GFS develops a hurricane, I think that would be Tropical Storm Grace, and it just kind of gets uncomfortably strong and close towards the United States. So that's something to watch for. The models have been hinting at that. Let's take a look at the water from the GFS model. You're right, how much rainfall you could get. Notice decent amounts, and it's not across one area. It's spread out. The southeastern Canada getting some fair amounts, maybe a bit less across right here, the northern plains, or sorry, the northern Great Lakes. The southeast, decent amounts. The south, maybe not too much, but not drying out. Southwest, good rains. Montana, the upper plains, definitely not bad. The Great Lakes, the Midwest, kind of the south central plains, not bad. The only area that does miss out in all of this is the West Coast, and really the West states of Washington, Oregon, California, portions of Nevada and Idaho. But again, even Nevada, southern Nevada could get in on this. So, at least it's nice and widespread. And look, southern Canada getting decent rains, to say the least. So that is that is good news, to say the least, as I've been saying. Canadian model. This is what it shows. It only goes out to 240, so it does show less than a Canadian or the European and the GFS. But again, I do want to mention that the Canadian doesn't do as good of a job of showing the rainfall amounts. It does show it's pretty much all over the United States, Southwest, the Northern Plains. But again, it kind of shows us where the biggest threats are. Northeast, Southeast, and the Northern Plains with that heavier rainfall. But again, I do think it will be a bit more widespread than what the Canadian model is showing. It struggles with showing a good depiction of the precip usually. There's Fred bringing that moisture into the U.S. up along the Northeast. There's our system across the Northwest. Again, Thursday, Friday, now it's a bit slower to develop this storm compared to other models. And even compared to itself a few days ago. But look at all that rain across Wyoming, Montana. I mean, that is so satisfying. Those folks need it so bad, so desperately. I was watching some videos from northeastern Wyoming from farmers, and it's, I mean, they literally don't have even water to feed their cattle, and nor the big problem is the hay. They can't afford to feed them, so they're culling out their herds and whatnot. And yeah, I mean, that's finally gonna bring a bit of relief, maybe a bit too late, but nonetheless, it's gonna definitely provide some beneficial rainfall. Notice the Dakota, same thing, good news. Minnesota and into Wisconsin, Michigan, the UP, into southern Canada, decent rains. And then right after that system pulls away, you could see the Canadian starts showing a second one across Montana, maybe Wyoming again. So that is good news, and it does bring that into the Northeast, as I mentioned. So a lot of chances for rain, and even in the next 84 hours, the models are showing decent rains already starting to spread across the northern plains, which the global ones aren't really favoring. But all it takes is a little line of storms that is unpredicted, and that could drop 1 to 2 inches by itself. Look at that little bit right there across North Dakota. That could drop a few inches potentially just out of that little guy. Yeah, if there's a decent thunderstorm or two, and if it's slow moving enough. Notice there is Fred, definitely growing, intensifying. Nothing too strong, I would say, but again, it will have a lot of moisture with it and some strong winds, and you can see that just rides up the southeast and into the northeast corridor. And notice that the NAM 12KM by Wednesday does start showing that system across Montana and Wyoming starting to take shape. It does send a bit across some early precip into Wednesday across Saskatchewan and Manitoba. So again, this is a multi-day kind of storm, but by the time it organizes, it will be Friday or Saturday. So the models did hold off on that. But notice that the NAM does bring in the rain a bit early into the Dakotas compared to some of the global models. But yeah, definitely a lot of things to watch for. Notice the southwest monsoons also bringing decent rains across New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, and potentially western Texas. And just looking at the 84-hour next accumulated precipitation, notice that again, decent rains, especially across the southeast and northeast. Definitely a quarter of heavy rain. The northwest, southern kind of Canada, decent rains as well. But again, most of this will be kind of occurring past the 84-hour timeline for the northern plains, but the southeast will be seeing a lot of it in the next 84 hours. So a bit different timings. Here's a different model that depicts it. Notice decent rains right across the northwest, showing that as well, starting to develop. And then into portions, now looking at this model, it's a high-res model. Notice it shows a scattered nature of some of these showers and storms across the southeast, and a bit more widespread rains across the northwest, but it only goes out to 60, so it kind of cuts some of that out before it starts truly developing, which some of the models again have delayed all the way into Friday. But regardless, it looks, even if it does delay it a bit more, it looks as if this rain will be coming. And yeah, definitely something we'll have to watch for. I want to show you the high-res RAP model. It is a decent model, and it only goes out to 48 hours, and I just want to show you how much rain it shows in the next 51 hours. Yeah, notice portions of Florida, Georgia, Alabama, lots of rain potentially, and that may not be the best thing, as there could be quite a bit of flooding to do with that. Let's take a look at the reflectivity with the precipitation type. So again, this is mainly just focusing on that tropical storm, not necessarily the northwest because it doesn't go out that far, but there you could see a lot of spinning moisture with that system, and that does again feed eventually into this system that is across the northwest, and that does help out. Notice, look at all these winds, right? That is blowing from the south and west up towards the north, so this again will be just quickly carrying all this precip into this low pressure, especially since this high pressure is helping create that gradient. So that's why a lot of this will be helping create that storm, and the European thinks it will create a rather strong one, while the GFS and Canadian show a bit more disorganized one, but with equally as much rainfall. So either way, it looks like a win-win. And here's the NAM 3KM ConUS. It's a high-res more model of the NAM 12KM. Notice it shows a pretty strong system right there, and it blows it onto Georgia, Alabama, and up into the northeast. Probably a bit weaker than what it shows at this point. But look at that, Montana right there. It's like a river of moisture, which is definitely something they need. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. That'll be pretty much it for today's video, and I'll catch you all on the next episode. See ya. Bye.